He came to me in, he was in middle school or high school, and he's very spiritually mature, has always been. I didn't do it. Their daddy didn't do it. God did it. But we call him our little Billy Graham. But anywho, so he was dating a little girl, and he came home, and I said, what y'all been doing? And he said, we've been watching a movie, and we were kissing. I said, oh, that's normal. That's okay. But I said, baby, before you know it, one thing can get out of hand. You've got your arm around somebody, and then you've got your hand on her leg. Things can get out of control. He looked at me like I was crazy. And he said to me, Mom, I've prayed about this. Nothing like that's going to happen. And I know he meant that. And all I could think of to myself was some of the nastiest things I ever did. Was at the Adams United Methodist Youth Fellowship. On a hayride. I don't know what it was about hay that set me on fire. I wish it did now. I could get a new purse out of that. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Youth groups. And we've all, here in the South, we've all been raised in church, Did y'all ever go to a lock-in? What little fool came up with that? Y'all know that it was some precious little woman maybe, and they were like, they were in a committee meeting, and she was like, oh gosh, y'all, we need to come up for something for all the hormonal teenagers. I know. We'll put them in the church building and lock the door and turn the lights out and leave them there all night. Maybe somebody will end up pregnant. It goes from 5 to 18, so the little 5-year-olds come out, and they are yummy, and you could eat their lips off. And they've got little bitty skirts on about the size of a napkin. And they come out to Beyonce's All the Single Ladies. And their little mamas are in their 20s, and they're not bitter yet. And they're in the front, making every move that their little children are making. Because those little children are babies and they need to be at home breastfeeding. They can't remember their act. So they go all the way up until they get to my baby's age, and my baby comes out, reef sharks. And for 2.5 minutes, my baby throws little children up in the air. Broken out in a sweat. Working like a Trojan. And the whole time, it's the most freakishly tiny little people you've ever seen that she's throwing up in the air. Their little mamas are freakish, tiny little people too. I'm from farming country in Middle Tennessee. We grew dark fired tobacco, so I've got thick ankles. I can work in the fields. I don't know who these people are. I don't know how they birthed a little baby. Their little cervix. So these freakishly tiny little children are up on top, and the whole time she's throwing them in the air, they're doing this. And nobody knows why. But this goes on for 2.5 minutes, and then the finale. All the little children hunker down on the stage, and the finale was my baby. They had my baby hop up out of that crowd with a child's foot in her hand. So y'all get what I'm saying. She had a human being up over her head with one arm. And that little girl's doing some kind of something up on top. My baby was a rock star. Thank you. I mean, really, I don't know when's the last, had never held one of my friends up over my head with one foot in my hand. It's a big deal. And the feminine boys went nuts. And they wanted her to stay so bad. They were like, we want you to stay. And she was like, I'm okay. I've got it out of my system. I'm okay. She said, but I'm keeping this whore outfit. She still has it. She says she's going to get married in it. But anyway.
I thought, especially my very first one with Paula Deen attached and Warner Brothers, it was Tom Warner. And, ABC bought it before we could get out of the parking lot.
Right.
And I had a showcase at Laugh Factory, and I knew I had done well. I knew I'd done well. It was one of those things in my career where I thought I just killed that.
Yeah.
And I thought I was on top of the world, and people were calling and wanting to do interviews with me and all that. And then one day they just call and they go, "It's over. There's a writer's strike." I was like, and my husband bought me a dog, this old beagle that's laying down here snoring, to help me get through it because I was devastated. I thought that was it. And me as a comedian growing up, my idea of stardom is a sitcom. I wanted to be Ray Romano, Roseanne. That was my dream, Tim Allen. And then, so that when that ended, I was devastated. I think I went into a clinical depression.
I understand.
And then I got the second deal and thought Matt Williams had created Roseanne and Home Improvement. Nick at Night came after me.
Yeah.
They gave us money to shoot a pilot. What happened with that? Matt Williams said, Leanne, I think this is more of a kid's Disney skunk is loose in the living room kind of thing. And he goes, and I don't do that. And can you trust me? And I said, yeah. So we took it from Nick at Night. And I think it may have gone with, I say that, I don't know. And then TV Land wanted it. And then I knew the minute they said, yeah, we want it. They held on to it for 9 months. And I knew in my heart, they don't want this. They don't want it. And I don't know what they're doing, but they don't want this.
Yeah.
And I feel like I think people are, when I come out to LA and we pitch in meetings, I think people are fascinated by me. I think they think, oh, look at her, like an animal in the wild kind of, look at her. But I don't know what it's just, but I know people that have had 9 deals and didn't get anything, so.
All my children are yummy, and I'm in love with them, and I love my girls, and I know that when I'm in the nursing home, they'll be the ones to come and pluck my chin hairs. Because he is now since married and gone off with his wife and her people. And that's what boys do. They cling to their wife. That's biblical. He said to me, Mom, she is now my immediate family. You are my extended. That's what he said to me right before they got married. And he said, Mom, that's biblical. I'm supposed to cling to my wife. And I thought, why did I show him the Bible? Well, he has always been spiritually mature. We call him our little Billy Graham. My husband and we didn't do it. God did it. I'm full of sin. Okay. I've been washed in the blood, but I've been a horrible, horrible person. Not too bad, but okay. So this baby has been just like an old man all of his life. Let me give you an example. He had a little girlfriend in high school, and he would go over to her house and they'd watch movies. And he came home one night and he used to tell me everything. And I said, what y'all been doing? He said, well, we've been watching television and kissing on the couch. And I said, okay, baby, okay. That's all right, that's normal. But I said, before you know it, you've got your hand on somebody's leg, your arm around, and things can get out of control. And I just say, slow it down. He looked at me like I was crazy. And he said, Mom, I've prayed about this. Nothing like that's going to happen. And I know he meant that. And all I could think of to myself was some of the nastiest things I ever did. Was at the Adams United Methodist Youth Fellowship on a hayride. I don't know what it was about hay that set me on fire. I wish it did now, because I could get a new purse out of that. Okay, y'all, have you ever heard of lock-in? I know everybody in here that has been from Chattanooga has probably been raised in church. Okay, I don't know who that little darling, sweet fool was that came up with the lock-in. Probably a little woman in a committee meeting. And she probably said, oh gosh, y'all, let's come up with something for all the hormonal teenagers. Let's gather them up and put them in the church building and lock the door and turn the lights out and leave them there all night. Maybe somebody will end up pregnant. My middle one, we go and get spray tans together, and I love them, and I feel thinner in them. If you're going through a hard time, go get a spray tan. Makes you feel like a movie star. Okay, well, we went the other night, and this is the difference for you young mamas out there. Like, women going like in your 20s and 30s and even in your 40s when you still are, have life left in you. Okay, there's something happens to you when you're in your 50s, and it is wonderful. You don't care, okay? You don't care about anything. All right, we go to get a spray tan. And y'all know about Snapchat. There's a thing called Snapchat where you can video somebody and send it to your friend. Okay. Or send it out to the world, I guess. All right. I'm completely naked with a plastic bag on my head. In the spray tanning thing, and it's like a car wash. It does this. And then you do. And then you do. And then you do. Okay. And when it's cold outside, it feels like needles going in you. It's so cold. Oh, that's awful. But anyway, she started filming me on Snapchat, completely nude. Now, in my 30s and 40s, I would have been hysterical, and I would have been in a bowl, and I would have been so torn up. In your 50s, at first I was like, and then I was like, I don't care. I think I may have gone. I don't care. I don't care. It's a wonderful feeling. I hope y'all can all get to that one day where you don't care. Honey, it's wonderful. I just don't care. Okay. All right, she is a beauty. And I know every crow thinks theirs is the blackest, but she's always had a bunch of boys coming around wanting to date her. So there was one that came around, and he was a player. Do y'all remember that, playa? Remember? So the young people call it playa. My husband's not a player. He doesn't chat at all. So he never sweet talked me or, he's not that way. Solid, though, solid. I've got good health insurance. But, he has never, charmed, not that kind of man. Okay. Well, she had this one coming around. He was a charmer. He was a player. And so he would say to me things like, Miss Morgan, you look beautiful. And I'd be like, can I make you a casserole? And eventually they broke up, praise God, because I was exhausted. I was blowing my hair out every day and mopping the kitchen floor. In Knoxville, our children's hospital, had asked me for years to be in there Dancing with the Stars. I want to be able to tell y'all it was ABC, but it wasn't. It was in Knoxville, and it was local celebrities. So it's like the weatherman and Phil Fulmer if he didn't have a knee replacement, and you know, people like that. So they had asked me. There's not many celebrities, so they had asked me, and I said, well, I've been eating white flour, and I'm in a bad place, and I don't know. Because they make you wear a bikini with fringe sewn on it, like ABC. You wear outfits like that, so you're practically nude in front of everybody you've ever known. So I said, this is for little children. This is the least I can do. So they put me with a big old boy that was my partner. He was a doll, and it was very stressful. You had to learn to dance in 6 weeks. You had to learn a dance. You practiced at night, and then you begged for money during the day. It was a lot. And we were going to learn the cha-cha, to Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I was going to kill it. Well, one night, he kind of flung me hard, and I thought, oh, something popped. And something doesn't feel right. The next morning I woke up and there was this big bulging thing about right here. And I called my girlfriend in Greenville, Tennessee, and I said, I think I've got backed up poop. And she said, because I have trouble with that. But she said, I don't think poop goes up that far. And so she looked on her iPad on WebMD, and she sent me this picture of this man looked like an alien coming out of him. She said, is that it? And I go, that's it. She goes, you've got a hernia. So I went to my doctor, and they said, we can't push this thing back in. And so the thing was in 5 days with the Children's Hospital, and I didn't want to let them down. And I thought, Lord, what are we going to do? And my girls stepped in and learned a dance in 4 days. Bless their hearts, and they're practically nude. And they had to wear all that too. And I came out in a wheelchair to Proud Mary Keep On Turning.